On Monday's show, we discussed whether or not Apple tumbling could bring down the market or incite a correction. Well, if you were shorting early in the day, you found out that was not the case. Things are a little bit different now. We're in the red. We're going to discuss it. Tesla not helping things. AMD selling too good of chips to China. Does that make a lot of sense? Target's back up nearly 12 bucks. Everyone's going to Target. It's T3 Tuesday on pre-market prep.
Welcome to Benzinga's pre-market prep.
This is a volatile puppy here.
It's all about execution styles and strategies.
All right, good morning, traders and investors. Hopefully, Triple D didn't put any bids out last night because we were straight down from that 6 p.m., even straight down from the 4 p.m. close. Down 16 and 3/4 handles, 51.2150. The buck's been quiet lately, up a dime, trying to get in a 104 handle. Bond showing some life, back over 120, up over a half a point. Crude in the red, down 84 cents, 77.90. Gold up 760. $2,133.90. Silver back over 24, up 17 cents, 24.17. And Bitcoin down 460. I mean, that's absolutely nothing compared to the major run it's had. The futures, I'm quoting, they're down $460, as I said. It's 68,020. Why don't we bring in Triple D and AB right together here to start the show? And Triple D, weak last half hour. I don't know if there was some Fed speak out there. I did see Bostic said something. But man, the Bears are showing some claws. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say this is a bull market's over, because we know we have the great rotation. But the Bears did show up yesterday late in the day.
Yeah, for a few hours there, and they're showing up. There's follow through here this morning, and you're seeing some weakness in the tech trade here today. I mean, it's being led by two stocks, and these two stocks we've been talking about mainly. We've been talking about one of them, and it's Apple. When it broke that 180, got down to that 178, 177. It has not looked back, and it has been a clean breakdown here through the 180. Obviously, yesterday losing $4, losing another $4 here today. There's a headline, they got a fine. I mean, media is always looking for something, but this is technical. This has been wanting to break down here for the better part of a couple of weeks, giving you lots of outs. I was long it, and I got out because it was offering you the outs, and it was the Vision Pro. It just, the reception to it just wasn't very good. So you're back to, this is just an iPhone company that has no AI product, and it's out of favor right now. And until they show us what they're working on, and they're only starting to work on something they are way behind, it's not cheap. So put that all together, and this is what happens. And, obviously a lot of market cap's been going into other stocks. Apple has not benefited from this AI movement, and maybe that's justified because they appear to be behind.
Yeah, and I mean, Apple yesterday got hit with that $2 billion fine, like you mentioned. But anytime a company gets hit with, a fine like that, $2 billion was the fine, and then $80 billion worth of market cap got wiped out. Shows you the market just was not, Apple's not in favor right now. You mentioned it is an iPhone company. We did get more headlines this morning. Apple's iPhone sales dipped 24% in China, falls to fourth place behind Vivo and Huawei. So, looks like Apple's sales in China are declining, that's a huge market for Apple as well as some other companies. I mean, that's been China's been a theme in terms of headlines this morning. We have a few different stocks moving off of China news.
Yeah, so does this derail the tech trade? Does this end the AI rally? Can Apple bring that all down? Well, let's just look at the evidence here this morning. We'll break down, Apple with Nvidia here, because Nvidia had a really good day. We'll give you those technicals on Apple in a second. But I just want to make a point here. I'm looking through the screen. I'm seeing tech stocks red everywhere. Very few tech stocks trading green on my screen. The one stock that everybody says is in the bubble is the only one that's up today. It's not up another $8, and it's Nvidia. And it just seems like nothing can derail this Nvidia rally here. Continues to go. So what seems to be Apple's loss is Nvidia's gain here, Joel. That's why I wanted to talk these two stocks together. Break down the technicals first on Apple, because we're in a free fall here. I see 165, nice support down there near those October lows. That's still $6 away. Is there anything before that?
When I talked to you, I'm just going to give you daily lows, but when we talked about this yesterday, we always talk about going up quickly through an area and coming back down quickly through an area. So the next daily low, that's all I'm going to give you for, oh boy, I maybe give you one more. 170.12, nice round number. That was your November 1st low, but only one low in that area. So you know I like more than one low. Next daily low is 167.90. So those are your two levels, the 170. Of course, Dennis, you're talking about the low of the October low at 165.67. So you just have some intermediate lows. So, but I want to bring up one thing, and we should have brought this up yesterday. Did you know that? Let me see if I can bring this up here. Without bringing too much information, do you know that Meta decided that as will delete your Oculus account as of March 29th, 2004? If you're, if you're using, so they're going to another version, but obviously this never caught on, right? And look how similar they are. Like, has Oculus really caught on? Not really. So, I mean,
No.
to have
No, it didn't at all.
it didn't at all. Why did Apple
Didn't
spend
at all.
money on this?
Again, and I was wrong. I will say I was wrong, because I thought when I looked at that video, I was like, I didn't try it out, but I was like, the product's really cool. But as soon as they started saying headaches from it, I'm like, oh
Oh,
gosh, that is not what you want to hear, because I get headaches, and I'm like, I was already scared of that before even hearing that. I'm like, I'm out. I'm like, I'm not going to try that if it's just going to be a little bit like your brain can't figure it out,
too
because you're
much.
putting into a different world. I don't know if our brains can handle it. So that's a big issue. And here's a product they have worked so hard at. Just envision all the efforts that like Nvidia has been focused, on AI chips and expanding there. Apple's been focused on Vision Pro, and this is going to be the product. And it's really cool. But the reception to it just awful. The headaches, and you think about all that time spent. And then they worked all those years on the car. We know they were working on the car. Gene was telling us they were working on the car, and they just scrap all that too. There's a good point here to say, has Apple lost their way? I mean, what have they come up with? Let's just, throw it out there to AB2. What have they come up with since the iPhone? What's been the game changer? The watch? Are we talking, what has really moved the needle here? Like the iPhone was all Steve Jobs. What have they come up with since Steve Jobs?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Apple's different products, I mean, like, I can pull up a chart real quick, but Apple brought in more revenue from its AirPods alone than a lot of big, tech companies brought more revenue. Apple brought more revenue in 2022 in from its AirPods alone than Spotify's entire, revenue for the year. And so,
But that's a tough comparison, AB, because what is the AirPods revenue in context to Apple? Is
I'm
it
seeing like
1%
50,
even?
yeah, I mean,
What is it?
it's not. It's around 15.
Is it even
billion.
1%?
I don't
Sorry,
know.
what is it?
I don't know about percentage wise, but it's about 15 billion. So if you look at the total revenue, probably around there. But my point is just that their products, even the smaller ones, watches, Apple's have done really well. But to your point, nothing really game changing like the iPhone.
That's all
was.
a derivative from the iPhone, though. Like we have headphones from, we're using our iSet, so we got that. It's all still based around the iPhone. Like everything, the watch links to my iPhone. It's all kind of based around their core product, which is still the iPhone. They got to figure it out, because right now, Apple is a consumer staple with a hell of a cash cow and a hell of a cash hoard. You think of all the money they have. But they've got to deliver on this AI, because everyone else is delivering here and Apple is not so far. And the Vision Pro so far was a flop as well. So I think that's why you're seeing this separation here happening. Investors are like, we're sick of just hearing about iPhone sales. It's I believe it's still over 50% of their sales. Services helps and all, they have other businesses here, but I haven't had a cool product. Like when that came out, Joel, and they had that, like the original what the hell was it called? Not the before it was the iPhone. It was called, help me out, AB. 2007, 2008. It was the iPod.
Are you about
Remember
the
when it was
iPod
the
Touch?
iPod?
Yeah.
And then they came out with the one you could like the screen and you could touch it.
Right.
I was
iPod
like,
Touch.
that was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. I remember Chris Banier, like which is one of my guys I traded with for a long time. He always gets this cool technology right. He had that in his hand. I'm like, that is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Really cool. And then obviously we just exploded from there. But I mean, you come back and you look here, what really innovated like product? We have airless, we have cordless eye headsets. I mean, that's not innovative to me. What really have they innovated here in the last 15 years? They've been working on the car and it didn't work out. I mean, so that's why it's a prove me story all of a sudden. And the investors aren't sitting around here waiting. They're buying what is being proved, and that's Nvidia. And Nvidia is up another $8 here today. So I'm going to say it again. Apple's loss is Nvidia's gain because they always seem to be buying something. Apple going down, let's just buy Nvidia because it's the AI play.
Yeah, and we'll see, I guess, over time if Apple does end up being an AI play. I think that's a lot of investors' big question right now is will Apple execute and be somewhat of a leader in AI at some point? Because clearly they aren't right now, and the market is punishing it for it. I mentioned that there's some China headlines impacting a few different tech stocks this morning. Tesla as well got hammered yesterday, closed down, I want to say more than 7%, trading it down again pre-market on China news. So Tesla sales in China declined more than 15% year over year amid increased competition. You've got different car companies, Boyd, the one backed by Warren Buffett out in China, putting out cheap EVs, cutting into Tesla's market there. Tesla had to announce new price cuts in China to keep up with this. The market did not like that. Again, down 7% yesterday, down another 2.3% today. Apple and Tesla just not in favor.
No, and Tesla's out of favor. And right now, at this moment in time, it's a car company, and EVs are doing very poorly. We can look at the chart of Rivian. We can look at the chart of any EV company, and they're all sitting on the lows. Fisker looks like it's going belly up. I mean, Tesla is still best of breed, going to be best of breed, but that business itself is hurting right now. EV sales are not good. We know people. One thing is to afford the cars, but two, they're just like in hybrids. And, that's why Toyota's, been all over it and they've been gaining every single day. It's up another $4, new all-time highs here for Toyota too. So the hybrid movement is real. The EV movement is delayed at a bare minimum. With that being said, there's going to be a time to buy Tesla. I have a small piece. I've just nibbled in. We talked about that before because I think this humanoid story is going to be real, and I think the humanoids are going to come.
So was driverless cars 10 years ago when we were doing the show, and all those other things that Musk said he was going to do and delivered on. So you want to wait 10 years?
Do you watch the videos
Go ahead
of the
and wait
humanoids
10.
though?
No,
Joel, you can
that's
just poo-poo it.
Wait 10 years, Dennis. We'll see what happens.
You haven't been hearing about humanoids for 10 years. You haven't been hearing about humanoids.
You've been hearing about driverless cars for 10 years.
That's a long ways out. We've been skeptical about driverless cars for a while.
They were talking about it for a while. I mean,
and you make a valid point. I'm just saying, I think there's another huge revenue stream eventually coming for Tesla. I'm with Chris Camillo on this, on the humanoids. We're early. I mean, we're obviously early. The stock isn't starting to take off here yet. Stock's breaking down. And maybe being early, it's no good in trading. In long-term investing, you can be early if you can wait it out. Just don't be on margin full of calls. But in long-term investing, that is the truth here. We never talk about this. In trading, it's all about timing. In long-term investing, you can wait. And I think if you're just sitting back, I think eventually the humanoid movement will be real. But it's a few years out here, at least 2 to 3 years out. So are we too early to get too excited about it? Yeah, and if we keep having poor car sales, Tesla stock's going to go lower. But I don't think it's insane to think that eventually those humanoids are going to be bigger than their car company. So Tesla, all of a sudden, is really a technology company.
I thought it was a data company. I thought it was satellites, and I thought it was going to SpaceX. I thought it was all the. I mean, you can change your narrative, and you get things to work. When I look at the long term, chart of Tesla here, and
Yep.
we've looked at, we've looked at Cisco, we've looked at, some of these other stocks. I mean, they get to these points where they have ridiculous valuations and come back. I mean, can Tesla go back to 250 someday? Yeah, maybe. Can it go back to 300? Sure, maybe. But I mean, that euphoria that we saw in 2021 with everything, with buying Twitter, I mean, just think how much stock he dumped to buy Twitter. I mean, he was selling, and I mean, he was selling that thing hand over fist in order to invest in Twitter. I mean, we can wait things out. This is just not like the Tesla Apple show. But the other thing, just going back to Apple, two other things that I think you're going to be hearing about. I think next time you hear something from Warren, he's going to be selling a little bit more, because
That's
once he starts
scary
buying, he
thought.
starts buying. And once
Yeah.
he starts
Yeah.
selling, he starts selling. So I think that's another thing to keep in mind. And then the next narrative you're going to hear is Tim Cook's got to go. Tim, what have they done since Steve Jobs is here? So
That's what I'm saying. I'm starting that narrative here right now. What have they done since Steve Jobs? So I'm not a fan of Apple here at all right now.
okay,
The reception to the Vision Pro was too poor. And again, as a trader, even as an investor, you have to be able to, change your mind when you're being proven wrong. And Apple, I thought that was going to be a better reception of that, and the reception was absolutely horrible. So here you go, Apple. I don't see anything on the horizon. I do see those videos, those Tesla humanoids, though, and they look really cool.
Well, speaking
Wow.
of humanoids, I was going to mention this last week. Dennis, did you see the news with this company called Figure AI?
No.
Okay, so this is like a humanoid startup founded in 2022. So it's only been around for 2 years. Nvidia, Jeff Bezos, OpenAI, Intel have all put
I know the
money
name
into
of
it.
it. Yeah.
And
So
so they got like $1 billion of funding. I was thinking about it. Is that the quickest like $1 billion worth of funding? Is valued at now like $3 billion. It's been around 2 years and they got $2 billion. They started this, and then you basically pitched to all these big players in the AI space.
yeah.
And so this one I think could be interesting if it eventually goes public, just because you've got the backing now of all these companies, Nvidia, OpenAI, Jeff Bezos, Intel, that are pouring money into this one. Then I also saw a headline yesterday about Amazon's humanoid. So sounds like there could be some competition in that space as well.
Great point. And there's going to be, there's a half dozen companies that are moving along with that. Like I've said, I think Boston Dynamics is farther along than Tesla. There's arguments to be made because the Tesla's motor movements are a little bit more precise, but those jumping, we've seen the videos doing, flips in the air, these, these humanoids, it's nothing short of incredible. But, Boston Dynamics part of Hyundai. If I want to own a car company, same thing with Tesla. That's why I didn't go all in, because I don't really love, the EV business here right now. But I'd love to, just have a pure humanoid company to invest in. If that thing went public at a $3 billion valuation with those kind of backers, I'd be interested. I'd be interested in buying. Maybe you got to go in the private market and buy these things.
Someone in the chat, let me know, is 2 years the quickest a company has ever raised $1 billion? Because it's got to be up there. I can't think of another company. I guess maybe some founder that started one company before, maybe started a new one and got all of their rich friends in Silicon Valley to invest. But either way, I mean, to raise that much money in that shorter time is impressive. Sticking with the China story real quick, we had another tech stock, our third one of the day, impacted by China news. That will be AMD. AMD basically said the government saying that you can't sell some of its AI chips, its most advanced AI chips, to China. We've seen this in the past with Nvidia, where they basically say, okay, you can sell this dumbed down version. But I think the U.S. government is basically saying we don't want to sell our best technology that China doesn't have yet to these Chinese companies and let them kind of catch up and copy what we're doing over here. So AMD took a hit on that news this morning. But yeah, I mean, China really the big headline of the day is everything's China related this morning.
Stock bouncing back off the lows here too. Still long my AMD, still long my Nvidia. I mean, these are the pure plays in AI, and I think there's just going to be underneath demand. You had that breakout, Joel, from 180. If you ever got down there to retest it, I would buy more, and everybody else would be buying it as well here. It's tough. You can look at valuation, say it's trading over 50 times earnings, it's just too expensive, or you can look at it and say, man, that's a big piece of pie. Nvidia's got the majority of it. What if AMD gets a piece? I just think this is, it's NASA again, Nvidia, AMD, SMCI, and obviously I put Amgen in there, which was wrong, but ARM or AVGO, whatever you want the A to be. I mean, that is the one. That is what is people are buying.
A couple levels easy for AMD here. If you want to gap fill, in fact, it just almost got there. Your rebound off that low came to boom, boom. Let's see what that rebound. That rebound came to 202.98. Yesterday's low is right in that area as well, 203.50. But now you got a number to keep an eye on. Besides yesterday's low, you have the all-time closing high at 205.36. I'm not going to worry about the 211.01, but see how it reacts. You got the news today. Everyone's selling first, asking questions later.
Yeah.
Someone could come up with an upgrade tomorrow, and it could be up $2.50. But right now, if you have a long-term position in AMD, keep a real close eye on that all-time closing price, all-time high at 205.36. And one other thing I'll mention. It had big volume on the last two up days, and the volume kind of tapered off yesterday a little bit. So just might be a little bit of buyer exhaustion, and now you get a little bit of negative news, and you're getting some people coming in and taking profits.
All right, well, let's go to earnings world real quick. We had Target report this morning, and one of the country's biggest retailers announced that it's predicting weak sales for 2024 for the next year. And you would think that'd be hurting the stock, but not really. The stock is up 8% on some strong numbers for the previous quarter. EPS came in at $2.98, beat the $2.41 estimate. Sales came in at $31.92 billion, beat the $31.83 billion. And again, the company, said that they expect sales to be weak for the next year, but market doesn't care, and it's shrugging it off and buying up Target here, up more than 8%.
The market breadth. I mean, there's so many companies here that are actually starting to show life. And Target, obviously, you had the whole woke thing back in October. And you know what? It's proved to be a buying opportunity there. So sometimes contrarians win here. And if you were contrarian saying, Target is just too cheap back in October and November when it's trading basically 11 times earnings,
wow,
you're correct. And you're being proven correct. Now, the problem here is now. Look at the run we have had. We went from 108 to $162. This is not an AI stock, folks. This is a big, obviously competitor to Walmart. There's Target, Costco, and Walmart, the big three. I mean, I feel like this is the day that you ring the register. This is the day, sure. Is there room to 180? Yeah. I think that's where we would top. I mean, there's multiple highs. It's getting back to the all-time highs when you start getting back to that. Well, no, you're not even close to all-time highs. Actually, it was over 200, but there's still room up here. Yep. So maybe a trail your stops. But I feel like if you're coming and buying Target now, you're buying somebody else's profits.
Boy, big pop, 167.20. That was your initial reaction. So you backed off over $4 from there. So I would just, if I had it for a short-term trade or was looking at it, some weekly options or something, I'd be kind of like, sure hope it gets back up there. Basis the monthly charts. I'll give you a level 162.84. You're still holding above that. So if you're buying this one off the open, there's been some minor pre-market support just under 162 at 161.50. I wouldn't want to see that breached, and just a little tight range besides that high 161.50, 164.50. Your early range, your price discovery range in Target. Macy's had the nice pop yesterday. Dennis, was it too much, too fast for you? Or are you holding on for that $24?
No, I sold my Macy's. Yeah, I sold it. I think there's bidders in here. It was a big pop. I think that they could get bought here eventually. They seem to be serious raising it from 21 to 24. But if this bid, if they reject it, then it doesn't just leak it right back. I mean, the core business is still, valuation's attractive though. So I could be talked into holding the Macy's too. I sold the pie. I don't like the double top. I don't like it back at 21, 24.
You mentioned that.
And then it perfectly matches that. So I do use technical sometimes. I was like, I don't like that either. But, if they raise the bid more, it could go higher. And then I got burned with Kohl's once on this too. So I kind of feel like I was long in the earnings. I thought the response to the earnings were going to be a little bit better. There was actually a decent report, and then they sold it right off. And I'm like, ah. So I don't know. I'm torn on this one. I did sell it yesterday, though.
All right, well, sticking in earnings land, we're kind of going reverse chronological. You had Target report this morning. Yesterday afternoon, GitLab, ticker
Oh.
GTLB, reported, and it was not great. Despite a double beat in terms of EPS and sales, the company reported some guidance that was short of market expectations. And Mr. Market did not like that one bit. GitLab trading down here more than 23% this morning. And for everyone who got into this thinking, oh my God, this is, an AI play, we're going to see an AI boost, at least not yet for GitLab.
I love how all these companies, that had businesses before are now all pure AI plays. They all market themselves. Even when you go to the company's websites, the first thing is seeing the most comprehensive AI powered. They got to have the buzzword even in, the title of even on search on Google. It's in the bloody title. So, I mean, every company's trying to pump themselves as an AI company. And a lot of them are. And I'm sure they have an AI business here. It just goes back to show you, though, that there's the pure AI plays, and those are the ones that are relentlessly going higher. And then there's everybody else who wants to be a pure AI play. GitLab off 23%. Does it get bought? Do dips get bought? Probably. I don't know if you want to come in on day one. So interesting, just talking about dips getting bought. The Snowflake, Joel, dip got bought for 2 days, and it just broke down and made a new low. So that's interesting. And why do I bring Snowflake up? Because we've got to keep watching. I'm a pairs trader, relationship-based trader. So you see big tech stocks getting hit. Palo Alto Networks, dip got bought because Pelosi was all over it. But that's even starting to leak here a little bit. So the question is, do these dips get bought and do they sustain? Palo Alto's come off the highs significantly as well from the Pelosi pop. So I think we watch those Pelosi. If Pelosi buys some GitLab, I'm in. If she doesn't, I might just sit on the sidelines.
You know what I think whenever someone brings up this stock, and I'm really going to show my age here. You remember the show Get Smart?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
yeah. From
Don.
this
I
great
just
show.
they
Yeah,
had
yeah,
some they have some, like to some of the stuff that he had, to when doing his, and like when he used to talk into his shoe and stuff and things like that. I just that's where we're at now. But boy, this is a big fall. I don't really follow this stock that much. I'll just give you a monthly low here. That's the only thing I can give you. And you had a monthly low at 56.40. You have a little confluence with your pre-market low at 55.40. So that's like like a 2-star area. Let's see how it reacts off the open. And then your next monthly low is under $50. And doesn't look like it looks like there's a patient buyer out here, but it doesn't look like anyone just says, oh, I have to own all I can at 57.
Yeah, again, the GitLab had that double beat, but with the guidance, the market's saying you missed it by that much, right, Joel? Going over to that was a Get Smart reference.
Oh, you even threw it. I didn't even think you'd even know what that show would be.
Oh yeah, of course.
Aaron knows everything.
I'm cultured. Let's go. Let's stick in the earnings land. You also had AV report earnings after the close yesterday. Drone company, AeroVironment.
Woo!
It was a good one. Finally, a good report. Non-GAAP EPS of 63 cents, beat by 29 cents. Revenue of 186 million, beat expectations by about 15 million. The company cited increased global demand for its products. And anytime you're talking about, hey, demand's growing across the world for our products, and you report good numbers, then usually the market will reward you. And again, you're seeing that stock trade up about 18% this morning.
I'm long AV. I think I talked about this a couple times on the show. I've had this stock in my portfolio for the better part of a few months here now. Maybe not. Early January, I bought it 123, 124, and it's kind of been all over the place. It's been down, up, just kind of trend. But I again, when I'm investing, I kind of look at, is there a story and is the valuation reasonable? And the story here is real. Drones. This is going to continue to be a thing. I think we're going to see drones everywhere eventually. So I'm a fan. I think, there's AI involved here as well. So I'm long. I'm staying long. It's in my long-term investment account.
Drones run by humanoids. You had a big
I'm long that.
yeah,
I'm
I know.
long that. Come on with that. Droids, yeah, drones and humanoids. Yep, I'm long that.
the
I'm long
the
that
take
company, Joel.
the Taco's epic. Um,
Yeah, I like that too.
I don't one
Skinny,
thing
skinny, skinny, skinny humanoids. Yes,
skinny.
I
Oh,
like
you're not going to have a heavy humanoid. I mean, no way.
that.
Uh, One- I'll just give you your it would be a pre-market high 157.97. This thing could go absolutely anywhere. The former all-time high that was made not too long ago, if you're looking for support or a level to hold, that's 143.99.
All right, well, we got to talk some Bitcoin, right? I mean, Bitcoin made
Sure.
did we officially break? I don't think we officially broke all-time highs yesterday, but we got damn near close. Bitcoin currently trading at 67,500. I mean, to everyone who again called the end of crypto during the FTX collapse and when Bitcoin dropped below 15K, I mean, yeah, I got to give credit where credit's due, and to these guys in the crypto space that are hodlers, hold on for dear life, and they never sell, and all they do is buy. They've been vindicated here because if you were buying down at 15, you've been rewarded. I'm not personally in any crypto, so I'm in the camp of watching this move, being like, oh, why wasn't I should have been buying this once it got down there. You're seeing a bunch of stocks move on this, like MicroStrategy, Coinbase, so. Either way, this will be one of the big stories to watch throughout the rest of the week. Can Bitcoin get to that 70,000 level? And if it does, can it hold it? Will we break out from there or will we run into some resistance?
I think eventually we're going higher. I haven't sold any of my Bitcoin. Obviously, I bought more around 42,000. I'm holding on. I'm a hodler. I'm a hodler.
I like to look at. I know everyone's talking about the 70K level, but I kind of learned my lesson when I was looking at the front month contract of the S&P, and I said, "Oh well, the might as well hold out for 5K because that was the rolling front month contract. That was 5,030.50. So I didn't consider the S&P making a new all-time high until the rolling front month contract did that. So I'm just going to stick with Bitcoin. I'm just going to stick to the same kind of technical analysis and the rolling front month contract, which takes in interest rates and everything else, time factors. The all time high to me is seven. It bases the futures. It's not that far away. 72,465. I also looked at the open interest in this, and it's just steadily been building. So no one is heading towards the exit as yet. I would not be worried on a technical basis until you had a big down day and a big decline in the open interest, indicating people that are exiting larger positions. This is just Bitcoin futures.
How long have you guys been doing this show for?
Joel, over 10 years.
Yeah.
What do you think Bitcoin's price was the very first time that you guys brought it up on the show?
Oh, I know what it was. We started talking it about what 3 or 4K.
I think earlier. I think it
Yeah.
was mentioned and we really poo-pooed it in the beginning. I can remember it like at 2200. I can remember like and around 2200 I remember and I was like this is just nothingness and I always called Bitcoin, nothingness and I said eventually this is just, it's just it's again, that shows you how much we've evolved as well. I would have never if you would ask me 10 years ago, would I invest in Bitcoin? I'd be, are you nuts? I'm going to put real money into like nothingness? No, I'd be no. But you know what? Things change. Times change. It didn't go away. And over 10 years, somehow I became a believer in Bitcoin and somehow I became a hodler. I don't even know how the hell that happened, but people can change.
Hey, yeah. If you ever need proof that people can change, yeah, just go
There you
look
go.
at that.
You know
Yeah, I mean,
what, Aaron? If you want to have fun, go back in the archives, and we did a major Bitcoin special. I think at the end of 2018, and I think
After
we had
18,000.
yeah, and well, yeah, then because I remember because we were doing the special, and I'm like, well, hey, if we're doing the special, I got to own some. So I remember buying it at 7K,
okay.
and it ran to 20K or like 21K.
That was probably the end of 2016. So I think the beginning of 2017 is when you had that, like January 2017 is I think when you had that first run up to 1820 the first
Uh-huh.
big spike in Bitcoin's chart, and then it came down from there, and then was
Yep.
trading lower for a while, and then you obviously got the next big run up to 60 at the beginning of or during COVID to 2021, 2022, big sell off, now big run, all the way up again. So yeah, I mean, like, if the chart tells us anything, if history tells us anything, it's that on these big dips, when everyone's scared and no one wants to touch Bitcoin, no one wants to own it, it's come back every single time until it doesn't. So we'll see. Again, right here, I think 70,000 is the big level to watch. All right. 8:36 a.m. Time to get to our guest. We've got Derrick Oldensmith hanging out backstage from T3. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Derrick on and see what he's been watching. Hi, Mr. Derrick Oldensmith from T3 Trading. How are you this morning?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to be back. How you guys doing?
Good, good. Thanks for hopping on with us today. What have you been watching and trading?
So this is a really interesting market environment that we're in right now, and my focus has definitely been a little bit more macro recently. And I've always been a big believer that if you can nail the macro, it makes the micro easier to trade. So even back in the day when I first started trading, I was a pure day trader my first 3 years. I always felt when I had a better understanding of the big picture of the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, that even my day trading would be better. And from a macro perspective, we're just in a really interesting trading environment right now because this uptrend has been phenomenal. AI has obviously been helping it. We've been just continuing to move higher and higher and higher ever since that end of October bottom. On the one hand, you feel like this rate of ascent with this market can't last, because otherwise we're going to end up 50% up on the year in the NASDAQ with the way we're running currently. It's a little bit crazy. Positioning broadly seems like it's getting a little bit frothy. And my team and I just over a week ago were talking about, well, we can't be quite at the top yet because we haven't seen the meme names and the crypto names start to explode yet, because what we've seen on a lot of tops over the course of the last couple of years is they start rallying the junk towards the end. Yep. And now that's finally starting to wake up over the course of the last week. So there are some yellow warning flashlights in my face right now that are telling me be a little bit cautious. But at the same time, the trend is my friend. There's no reason this has to stop today. And for the time being, until we lose some support levels, we're still in a buy the dip market. So gap downs like we're having this morning have been pretty consistent buying opportunities for 4 months or so now. There's no reason why that needs to end today. It will at a certain point, and you just need to know your key downside technical levels, because if you start to lose them at a certain point, with positioning becoming as frothy as it is right now, it could lead to a much larger sell-off. But you need something to trigger that downside movement initially, and we just don't seem to be at that point yet. It's been an incredible bull run.
What about Apple? I mean, we're seeing Apple fall out of bed here. The 180 is now gone. The 175 is gone. We're 171. This is a big move for Apple, a big 3-day move from go to 180 basically down to 170. Is this what's bringing down the market? Does this bring down the entire market if Apple starts to go down, or can the market rally without Apple?
So it's incredible, right? If you ask me almost any point over the course of the last several years, using yesterday's trading session as an example, there was a point yesterday where Apple was down 3% and the NASDAQ was still flat on the day. So we're in a market right now where there's huge dispersion. So how can Apple be down 3% and the NASDAQ be flat? Well, it's because Nvidia at the same time was still up 6.5% on the day. So we're in a market that is definitely being marked by dispersion, where we're seeing a lot of these trading sessions where the SPYs and Qs are almost like flatlining, but individual stocks are all over the place. They're up, they're down. I had been looking for Apple, if it broke that 180 support, which it eventually did on the 6th test of it, for a price target into the upper 160s. At this point this morning, we're at 171. It got hit with more bad news out of China this morning. At a certain point, this is probably a dip buying opportunity because it is Apple. There still is a $25 billion per quarter buyback in the stock. There's that consistent underlying buyer that is pretty much always there unless they're in a blackout window. But you would think that Apple breaking down as hard as it is, we'd be lower, and we're we're still not. So it's the same thing. Watch the technical levels on the Qs and the SPYs. I'm really paying attention to, on the downside, the Nvidia earnings day low for the S&P and the NASDAQ, which is February 22nd. I think if you lose that low, that's roughly SPY 503, then all of a sudden the market goes into a change. We get a change in environment. But for now, I mean, even with Apple breaking down as hard as it has, you're almost at like a spot where you want to look for an oversold bounce in Apple. And then what's going to happen to the NASDAQ when Apple actually bounces back $5, even if it's just an oversold bounce, right? There's a good chance that we get even further continuation in the NASDAQ. So as long as we're holding above that SPY 503, the trend is your friend. You're continuing to go higher, and you're able to have Apple breakdown, Google breakdown, Tesla breakdown, and it's a great trading environment. Maybe not if you're focused on the S&P and the NASDAQ, because they can flatline the way that they have. But this is an environment you can make money to the long side by, buying SMCI yesterday versus $1,000 off the open. You can make money to the short side by shorting Apple, versus or through that 180, or shorting Tesla for continuation was one of my trade ideas for yesterday. And I don't see any reason why the relative weakness in like a Tesla should be stopping anytime soon. This thing looks awful. It looks like it wants to really continue down. And then more bad news out of their Germany factory this morning. But market holds in.
Derrick, I know you're talking about a lot of these setups and sharing them in this free trading room. Do you mind talking about the trading room for a second and like what I would get if I do join it?
Sure. So I manage what's called the virtual trading floor for T3 Live. It's the Pro Desk virtual trading floor. It is a community primarily composed of trading professionals, people who are doing this for a living. And it's a phenomenal trading resource. So we get research in there every morning, starting about 7:30 in the morning, all your analyst upgrades and downgrades, earnings reports, macro research. I conduct a team morning meeting every day at 9 a.m. where I review my game plan for the day, what I'm watching as far as the market itself, but also breaking it down to the individual stocks that I'm looking at and why. I give the opportunity for everybody on my team to also present their ideas, which we review as a team. And that would be one thing that I would actually emphasize. It's a team of traders. It's not just me saying, hey, everybody, I just bought Apple, so everybody else buy Apple. It's a community where everyone is giving and taking and sharing information, and we're working together throughout the day. Obviously, 9:30 to 4, we're trading together. 4 p.m. when the market closes, we conduct a daily educational afternoon meeting where we are reviewing the market, drawing out lessons from what the market did that day. And then every afternoon meeting ends with a team Q&A, where it's an opportunity for any trader that I work with to ask any trading related question about literally anything from, hey, Derrick, I bought Google at 11:15 a.m. today at this entry price with this stop loss and this game plan. Can we review it? To broader questions on market psychology, reward maximization, risk management, whatever it is. We have this awesome community here where we all help each other to improve day in, day out.
Beautiful. Well, we've got the QR code up on the screen that people can join through. I'll also throw that link in the chat one more time. Sounds like a great resource, again, to be able to be in that community. It's not just one person. You've got all that information coming in, as well as trade ideas. Link is in the chat, guys. Go check that out. Derrick, what about Bitcoin? You've been watching Bitcoin and crypto. I mean, what do you think? We break a new all-time highs today?
So it's something that I am obviously watching. I haven't really been trading it, to be totally honest. I have traded a few of the crypto names. I traded a bunch of this Marrow over the course of the last couple of months, which was something that I was focusing on, but I no longer have a position in it. When it comes to crypto, I keep an eye on it. And like I said before, I think that the fact that we're really starting to see crypto ramp up and Coinbase ramp up, but also like Beyond Meat ramp up and Root ramp up, that a lot of the times that means that you're getting closer to the end of the cycle than the beginning of the cycle. So for me, I'm not really trading it directly. I'm just watching it for information and as a signal for everything else. I prefer, not to sound like an over crypto bear, but I prefer to focus on what I think are performing assets. When I buy an iPhone, I know that Apple just made money. When I buy a Bitcoin, I mean, what does that even mean?
It's true.
Well, we talked about Apple, Tesla, any other stocks, Derrick, that you've been watching, any other stocks that you think could be kind of a canary in the coal mine this week, things that could give us signals into the market's next move?
So I'm watching all of these short float meme squeezing names, and I'm honestly watching them on both sides of the market. One of the big lessons that I think traders were able to learn, and I was able to learn for myself at the end of 2020 and in the beginning of 2021, when we were in a bubble, it was very clear to me at the time that we were in a bubble. Yet I didn't want to participate in some of those squeezes at that point because I was like, oh, these stocks, they don't make any sense. They don't belong up here. So I don't want to be involved at all. My thought process this time around is, well, when we're seeing the large order option flow come in and gamma squeezes are coming in on a root or an SMCI or Beyond Meat or whatever it is, I'm not going to be afraid to take momentum trades and be involved in those big squeezes and in those big runs. Even if I don't believe in them in the long run, I'm happy to take them as a 1 to 3 day trade to be able to put some money in my pocket. And then at a certain point, you can potentially look to come in on the other side, but you got to be very, very careful about that. I think that root is a perfect example. You can look at that chart. You could have made the argument to me that this thing was way too extended at 25 after it ran from 10 to 25. Next thing you know,
oh my God,
it's at 43, and this is just the market environment that we're in right now. So I'm really watching like large order option flow with these types of names, because while that's consistently coming in, those gamma squeezes are coming in, and these things can just keep going and going and going for much further than you ever think would be reasonable. But at a certain point, when you see that die down, when you get an opportunity to be able to short these things on the way down, not on the way up, not just averaging up because you think it's irrational that it's at 43. Next thing you know, it's at 73 and you're bankrupt. But if you can short these things on the way down versus levels at a certain point, it can make sense also.
So you're basically saying if you can't beat them, join them. Like, you don't agree with some of these moves necessarily, but you can recognize them, and you're saying might as well play them.
I'm paying attention to anything that's got a high short flow that has the potential for these squeezes. I'm not afraid to be long a Wayfair, a Carvana, a Root, any of those names when we're seeing the volume coming in, when they're confirming and when they're squeezing higher. But I'm also recognizing that, some of these companies at a certain point, similar to the beginning of 2021, when we saw that even bigger bubble than we're starting to see with some of these names now, probably don't actually belong at these prices, whatever that means. And then again, that can eventually create the opportunity in the other way. So it's a great trading environment right now is the bottom line. There's opportunity on both sides of this market. You could be short the Apples and Teslas. You could be, buying the gamma squeezes in an SMCI or a Root or whatever, and then potentially coming in on the other side. It's a great trading environment. But the SPYs and the Qs, you'll sometimes see them just flatline the entire day while everything else is all over the place.
Why do you think this is happening? And I noticed the exact same thing. Why do they have to, and it's probably algorithmic driven, but why do they have to sell something like Apple's going down, they're buying Microsoft or they're buying Nvidia? Why is that they seem to the algos almost seem to want the S&Ps to flatline? Why is that?
I feel like it has a lot to do with the increase in derivative trading overall that's been involved in the market, in the options trading specifically. It started with the 0 DTEs coming online, and that really created a whole change to the way in which I feel markets moved intraday every single day. A lot less opening momentum, a lot more V bottoms intraday. And I think that a continuation of that is actually what's helping to create this dispersion where, again, mind blowing to see Apple down 3% yesterday and the NASDAQ flat. Yeah. But it's because Nvidia is up 6.25%. That's dispersion. And I think that a lot of that is coming from all the option selling that's out there, which is dampening vol. It's keeping the VIX relatively low. It's keeping the S&P intraday volatility really tight, but then allowing all these stocks to be able to move all over the place.
Got it.
Derrick, one of the first stocks when you came on our show, one of the first stocks you liked was Sentinel-1. I was just wondering if, how you handled that trade, if you're still in it, and if you are still in it, with the way this Palo Alto Networks has acted and some of these other security stocks. I mean, do you take cues like that, or do you just stick with your stock? This is my setup. I don't care about the other stocks in the sector.
I'm definitely paying attention to the other stocks in the sector. I do believe in fundamentals to some degree. I broadly consider myself as a trader to be like 85, 90% technically focused, but I do think having an understanding of the background of what the company does, of what other companies in the sector are doing is important information. The Sentinel gave a huge move. I did very, very well with it. I got out of it just relatively recently,
It's a great
probably
call.
4 trading sessions ago or something. And I know that earnings, I believe, is after the close today. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to get out of this thing. Let me get through the earnings report. And honestly, I'll take a look at what the report looks like. I'm kind of hoping they hit this thing back down, because if they do hit it back down at a certain price point, I'll be looking to get involved. I'm not sure exactly what price point yet. I want to see what the options are pricing in as far as a movement for the stock. But broadly looking at the chart right here, $22 looks like an interesting support level. Then you got a gap fill of $20. So in any event that they can hit this thing down, similar to what they did to a Palo Alto Networks or to ZS, like they did a couple trading sessions ago, which is also similar company, I'm interested in potentially getting back involved.
All right, one more thing for you, Derek. I mean, yesterday was a little bit of a puzzling day with, Apple getting rocked and the market, going up, making a new all-time high before crumbling later in the day, and definitely getting some strong follow through. Well, I won't say strong follow through. I really want to temper this, but what would make you get out that scalpel and say, you know what, we're going back down to 4,500. We got a real, not 4,500, I'd say 5,000. We got a nice correction here. Everyone, what's Powell going to say tomorrow, or where we at on interest rates, or bad CPI data? What would just make you say, yeah, baby, time
So
to
I
whoop up
am
on this market.
I am already nervous about where this market is, to be
Okay.
totally honest. But I respect trends tremendously, because one thing that I've really learned over the course of my career is that a trend can last for much longer than anyone ever expects that it will. Right now, we are very clearly still in this uptrend in the S&P. I want to see us lose some near-term support levels, or even the breakout level that we just had a couple trading sessions ago with the S&P. If we can lose that candle from 2 days ago, then maybe this market's beginning to go into an environment change. And I'm not going to be afraid to pounce on that, because I do think that the way positioning is in this market right now, the more you can go down, the more the selling actually should accelerate to the downside at a certain point. But you need something to actually break the market first in order to create that catalyst that can lead to a feedback cycle of selling in the market. So small dips right now, honestly, like a gap down like this morning, while we're still above major support levels, is something that I'm more interested in buying, but I'm probably not going all in on any new longs pretty much at this point. And then at a certain point, if we start losing some of those support levels, I'm going to say to myself, okay, if the bigger fund positioning, CTA positioning, trend following positioning can really begin to unwind, we can be looking at a much larger downside move. And then some of these more fundamental charts that I'm paying attention to, like the difference between how interest rates have changed, but the market's continuing to move up over the course of these last couple months, all of a sudden those more fundamental factors can come into play as well. So it honestly makes sense to me that the way we've been rallying stops relatively soon. But I can't say that that's today. I can't say that that is a week from now. I can't even necessarily say that that's a month from now. But the market will tell me when that time actually is by losing those levels. I don't need to short the top if we're going to have a real legitimate pull in. I can see us break the support levels, and then I can press a little further at that point. So that's what I'm looking for.
Great answer. Thank you.
All right, well, we've been on the line again with Derrick Oldensmith from T3 Trade. And if you want to go check out that free trading room, I'm throwing that link in the chat again, or you can hit that QR code on the screen. Derrick, thanks for hopping on with us this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yes,
Thanks,
sir.
Derek.
All righty, guys, got about 5 minutes left. Why don't we do some earnings preview? We got CrowdStrike set to report today after the close. Let me go ahead and pull up the numbers, what we're expecting there. So we have CrowdStrike today after the close. We have Ross Dress for Less, Nordstrom, ChargePoint, When does Sentinel-1 also? We just talked about S. The Sentinel-1, did they already report?
No, it's coming up later.
Okay. CrowdStrike, I would think would be the biggest one this afternoon that people
Oh,
are
boy.
watching.
I don't know, man. If after watching some of these other reports, I mean, if you're holding on to this one into the report, good luck.
Yeah, I mean, certainly.
You're just it is when you're taking them through the reports. It's it's a coin flip a lot of times. Sometimes these things. The question is, on CrowdStrike, is Palo Alto lowered the bar because I had the big gap down off of
There
it?
you go.
I don't know. I'm long CrowdStrike right now, just ahead of the report. I will sell it. I'm tending to sell it. It's actually having a pretty tough day here today because the market's down here, so it's not going over really well. Definitely selling this before the report, though.
Got it. Other companies reporting, like I mentioned. I mean, you've had some hot numbers in retail. Can Nordstrom's keep it up? Ticker JWN will report after the close. I mean, this report that Nordstrom's doing includes the holiday sales. So basically, to beat, you probably have to say we had pretty strong holiday sales. Then, of course, the market's going to care more about what the company says it's going to do in the next year than it does the previous quarter. But Nordstrom, I mean, I think that could be interesting down here potentially.
We've had a huge comeback in a lot of these retail names. It was $12 in October, and now you're looking at the stock at $20. It's had a big run. I mean, we can see them squeeze more. A lot of people short these things. Dividend is there. They closed all the stores in Canada. I mean, I don't love owning companies when they're closing the stores and they're struggling. Fundamentals of this company, just talking with Derrick, fundamentals of this company are just no good at all. But, doesn't mean the stock can't squeeze further. Doesn't mean, the stock has to necessarily go straight down to zero. I just think it's not something I would want to own in long-term portfolio.
Nice. I'll just give you nice resistance here, just under $22. You have a double top from last week, 21.90, 21.91. Go a little bit further back, and you had some highs just at the $22 area. So I'd keep an eye on that as potential resistance on a pop. Man, on a downside here, ooh boy, if they start to whoop on this thing, maybe hold out for 18. I see a pair of lows, 3, maybe 4 lows at the $18 area for JW Nordstrom.
And then just real quick before we wrap up, going to take a look at a couple of stocks we covered yesterday. Spirit Airlines continuing to trade lower this morning on news that its merger with JetBlue has officially fallen through. Down about 1.4%, trading at around $5.70. Something to watch out today. And NYCB. Don't look now, but
we didn't mention that. We didn't mention that yesterday.
We didn't talk NYCB at all?
No.
The market don't care.
Yeah, I mean, they
don't care.
Clearly doesn't. NYCB went down another 23% yesterday. Not looking great at all, although don't look now because NYCB is in the green this morning. So could be something to watch.
Up 2 cents.
Yeah, it's up 2 cents. I mean, hey, look, up 2 cents.
Give it some love. Give it some love. It's a good day for NYCB shareholders. Enjoy.
That's better than
enjoy that 2 cents.
Now it's up over 1%.
We're getting
That's a big move.
The PMP pop. No, I mean, hey, look, anything is better than being down 23%, which it feels like NYCB has been doing every single day. Now below a $2 billion market cap. So
I think it's going under. It's like we're going to get a bailout or something. I think there's going to be not much left for shareholders here. This is reading the chart. It looks like on the death spiral, 10 to 6 to 4 to 2. Kind of ratings on the wall here. It's probably going to get some type of bailout. I just don't know if there's going to be much left for shareholders. We know in the case of bailing out these banks, obviously, and it's funny, this is one that's involved in bailing out these banks back in March, and there wasn't anything left for shareholders, and I think you're going down the same road here. So you can buy it at $2, but I think you're just throwing your money away.
They got too big for their britches when they bought the assets of SIVB.
Yep.
Yeah,
that brought them down. Then they take on these assets, and that's going to bring them down too. Oh.
Yep.
Are we going to see, are people not going to learn the lesson here? And is another bank going to come in and buy NYCB's assets, which also includes Signature Bank assets? And then it just
I don't know.
Bring these crazy assets, these assets that destroy your company, just bring them along.
Yeah, just push
For
it
everybody
along.
that's sitting with a 2.5% mortgage, there's a bank sitting on the other side of that saying, why are we only getting 2.5% on our money? That's the problem. Interest rates went up. that's what got hurt the most, these regional banks.
Maybe JP Morgan will get back to its roots, and eventually that's where these assets end up. All right, well, it is 9 a.m. Eastern time. Market's going to open in 30 minutes. Tomorrow morning, we've got Martha Stokes coming on from TechnoTrader. Make sure to tune in, especially if you're interested in, prop trading, kind of taking that step toward professional trading. What else? I mean, what else tomorrow? I feel like we're going to be talking about
Jerome.
We got Jerome tomorrow.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, he's got.
What's he gonna say?
He's got
What's he gonna say?
Congressional testimony that he does.
10 a.m. Should we stay on until 10 a.m. and or 10 to 11 and do Fed? Yeah, he's gonna say inflation's coming down. We're not at our target yet.
We need to see more data.
Our target. We're data dependent. We're not out of the woods. What I said last year was totally bogus, and it's not true, is what he's going to say about cutting.
Do you see? Let's just talk the TLT here right now. Look at the TLT. It's having a day here, rallying significantly here this morning. So I think the TLT has bottomed. I think we have seen, I think we have seen the high in rates. I don't think we're going down. I don't think we're going to see the Rick Santelli 12% rates prediction here ever. I think we've peaked in rates. I think you can actually buy TLT on pullbacks here. I don't think Jerome's going to say anything crazy. I think he could be even a little bit on the dovish side. So I know it's hard when you see Nvidia stocks just going, and the market's coming back. And he don't want to be too dovish, so he's got to walk a fine line here. But they're going to start cutting rates here, and it's not going to happen in March. It's probably not going to happen in May, but it's probably going to happen in June, and that's coming. We're 90 days away from there, so you can see the market starting to position itself. Small caps starting to show some life here. Breadth starting to get a little bit better. TLT showing life here ahead of it too. So keep an eye on the TLT, folks.
Alrighty, that'll wrap for today on Pre-Market Prep. We do have live trading starting up in a couple minutes. Make sure to stay tuned. This stream will automatically redirect you there, and then we'll be back again tomorrow morning. Martha Stokes, 8 a.m. bright and early. Be there or be square. Thanks, guys, and we'll chat soon.